Good morning. I just landed back in Miami from Eretz Yisrael, and in coming and going to Israel, it's not just in the land of Israel. Even the flights, even the experience, the minute you board El Al, you already feel the taste of Am Yisrael, the Jewish nation and the Jewish homeland. This week's Torah portion, Moshe Rabbeinu is told by God in uncertain terms that he cannot go into the land of Israel. And despite his pleading with God, God says, no, you shall not cross over the Jordan. And so before Moses died, Moses instructs God. God, he says, I want you to appoint a new leader over the nation who will lead them and carry them into the promised land and guide them so that the Jewish people shall not be like sheep without a shepherd. And God says, okay, take Joshua and appoint him the leader who will be your successor in leading the Jewish people into the land of Israel. And right after that, God gives the commandments regarding the daily offerings in the Holy Temple. And our rabbis in the Medrash say, what is the connection between the appointment of Joshua to the commandment to bring the daily offerings? Now, rabbis give a parable that there was once a queen that was passing away, and she turns to her husband and says, before I die, I want to instruct you to make sure to look after my children after I die. And the king says, fine, I will look after your children, but I want you to also instruct our children to look after their father. And this is what God says to Moshe Rabbeinu. Yes, I will appoint a new leader, Joshua, but at the same time instruct the Jewish people to bring the daily offerings, that I need their love and care as much as they need mine. This is a symbiotic relationship, and therefore I will be dedicated to them, but they must be also instructed by you to be dedicated to me. And to see how 3,300 years later, the words of Moses were fulfilled, that the Jewish people have been guided from generation to generation and carry on their faith and their traditions. At the same time, God has not abandoned the Jewish people. The Jewish people are still, although the smallest of all nations, vibrant and alive, not just all over the world, but in their original homeland in the land of Israel. When I was coming back on El Al, I was sitting next to a young man, a secular Israeli, not religious. He had tattoos on him. He wasn't wearing a kippah, but a nice, warm, friendly guy. And I saw he was fluent in both Hebrew and English. He's about in his 30s. And so I started to talk to him. I said, where were you born? He said, I was born in Brooklyn. He told me his life story. His parents made Aliyah. And then, sadly, he tells me what happened. That he and his older sister, he was 14 at the time, she was 16, was standing at a bus stop. And terrorists set a bomb. And the bomb detonated and exploded. His 16-year-old sister was killed in that terrorist attack. And he was severely wounded. And he picked up his shirt and he showed me his scar all along his stomach. And he showed me his hands, that he still, just 2 weeks ago, had another piece of sharpnel removed from his hand, and he still has pieces of sharpnel in his body from that incident. But what he said to me was remarkable. He says, my faith in God is stronger than ever. I believe firmly that Hakol L'Tovah, I kept on repeating that phrase, Hakol L'Tovah, everything is for the best. And he's wearing this big Magen David on his neck, proud, strong Jew. And I was so inspired by his unshakable faith in God, despite having gone through such a tragic experience, such a traumatic experience. And it made me realize a few things. The first thing it made me realize is always never judge another person. You never know who's religious, who's not religious. In my eyes, that person is more religious than most religious people, because he was tested with the greatest test. And yet he remained strong in his faith in God. But also taught me an important lesson, not to complain about little things, not to get upset. If he could maintain faith and say, Hakol L'Tovah, under those circumstances, everything is for the best, Hashem has a plan, how much more so when it comes to small difficulties and challenges. And indeed, when I got off the plane, I came to the conveyor belt to get my luggage. And literally 80-90% of the people had already gotten their luggage, and mine was nowhere to be seen. And at first I started to get worried, I started to get concerned. And then I just remembered what he said, Hakol L'Tovah. I said, I'm embarrassed, I'm worried about luggage. Hakol L'Tovah, everything's for the best. If he could say that about such a permanent tragedy in his life, How could I get upset about luggage? And I remained calm. And then finally one piece of luggage came. And instead of being upset that I missed one, I said, thank God I have one. It's Hakol L'Tovah. It's all for the best. I went to the representative of Allah, showed him my missing ticket number. And thank God they were able to come and find it in the back. And I walked off with both pieces of luggage. But I found that his inspiration really changed my perspective. And I hope I could hold on to that. And we could all hold on to that. Let's see the bigger picture in life. God is leading us. Our destiny is so miraculous. We are a singular, unique nation in the world. Hakol L'Tovah. Let's live with that refrain. Everything is for good. Have a wonderful day.